All right, let's think about your gut a little differently today. Not just as a part of your body, but as its core operating system. And let's be real, for a lot of us, myself included, that system is just bogged down. It's compromised. It's crying out for a full system reboot. So you know what? Let's initiate that protocol right now.
You know that feeling? The chronic fatigue, the brain fog, maybe some digestive stuff that just won't quit? Well, those aren't just isolated bugs in the code. No way. They're actually symptoms of a massive, system-wide cascade failure. And the source of all those errors you're feeling, day in and day out, it's coming from one place, your compromised core system, your gut.
So where's this attack coming from? What's the main threat vector? Well, it's an herbicide. It's called glyphosate, and it has totally saturated our processed food supply. I mean, it is destroying the gut biome with pretty much every meal. This isn't some far-off threat anymore. It's a constant, internal assault, and it's being delivered through the very food we're supposed to trust.
Okay, so we've identified the problem. That's the first step. Now for the solution. And this isn't just theory. This is the exact protocol I use to fast-track my own system reboot. We're going to run the diagnostics together, pinpoint the damage, and then execute a step-by-step plan to get your system back online firing on all cylinders. Let's initiate that right now.
And look, the scale of this vulnerability, it's honestly staggering. A study from Muntz and his team confirmed it. 54% of the core species in your gut microbiome are sensitive to glyphosate. Think about that. That's more than half of your entire internal ecosystem at risk every single time you eat a processed meal. It's huge.
Okay, so that brings us to Section 1, threat analysis. We're going to really deconstruct how this whole system compromise happens, right down to the molecular level. This is the why. Why is the whole system failing?
So here's the crazy part. Glyphosate doesn't actually target our human cells directly. That's why it was considered safe for so long. But it attacks something called the shikimate pathway. Now that's a metabolic route that is absolutely essential for our good bacteria to survive. We don't have this pathway, which is fine for us, but the trillions of microbes we literally depend on, they do, and that's the problem.
And what happens next? Well, you get what's called a pathogenic shift. You can think of glyphosate as a really specific antibiotic. It wipes out our allies, our beneficial troops like lactobacillus and bifidobacterium, but it leaves the harmful pathogens, things that are often resistant, totally untouched. They're just left to thrive and take over all that new territory. It literally clears the field for the enemy.
And the consequences of this decay, they are systemic. This is where you really feel it. It messes with your mood because it tanks your serotonin production. It creates that awful brain fog by messing with your neuroactive metabolites. It weakens your gut wall, leading to that leaky gut you hear about. But maybe the most critical part, it can crash your cellular energy, your ATP, by up to 40%. You're not just tired, your entire power grid is failing.
All right, that brings us to Section 2, Defense Protocol. We've done enough analysis. It's time to take action. The very first phase is all about containing the threat and neutralizing the damage that's happening right now.
So our initial directives are pretty straightforward. There are two of them. First up is sequestration. That just means we need to bind up and remove the toxins that are already in your system. And second is saturation. This is where we protect your cellular machinery from getting hijacked by this chemical imposter.
So how does sequestration actually work? Well, we use things called binders. I want you to think of substances like zeolite or humic and fulvic acids as these little magnetic traps. They literally latch on to the glyphosate floating around in your gut, stopping it from getting reabsorbed and making sure it gets safely escorted right out of your system for good.
Okay, next up, we execute the saturation command. Here's why this is so important. Glyphosate is what's called a glycine analog. It's a molecular mimic. It looks so much like the real amino acid glycine that your body can get tricked into using it to build proteins, which is not good. So by supplementing with about 3 to 5 grams of actual glycine every day, we just flood the system with the real deal and effectively crowds out the imposter so it can't do any more damage. And that brings us to Section 3, the rebuild sequence. Look, we've stopped the ongoing damage, but that is not enough. Not even close. Now we have to actively rebuild the core architecture of your microbiome. It's time to call in the construction crew, your prebiotics, your probiotics, and your postbiotics.
I like to call this the biotic symphony. Each part plays a crucial role. Your prebiotics, they're the fertilizer.
Think of things like the polyphenols you get from berries. They feed the really important species like Akkermansia. Then you have your probiotics. These are the workers. You want the resilient, spore-based kind. They're like little snipers that can actually survive the journey to your colon and do their job. And finally, you have postbiotics, like butyrate. That's the medicine. It's the direct output from the good bacteria that actually fuels your gut cells.
Now, to really speed this whole process up, targeted supplementation is absolutely key. Things like L-glutamine are fantastic for helping repair that damaged gut lining. And then getting specific probiotic strains, like Lactobacillus reuteri and Bifidobacterium, is so critical for reseeding all the good guys that we lost in the first place.
Okay, on to Section 4, Advanced Tactics. Our defenses are rebuilt, the foundation is strong. Now it's time to go on the offensive. We have to actively purge those opportunistic pathogens. I'm talking about things like H. pylori, parasites, candida, all the stuff that set up camp while the system was compromised.
And we can be really tactical about this. It's like a targeted strike. We can use something like caprylic acid to manage fungal overgrowth, especially candida. We can deploy pomegranate extract to break down those slimy protective biofilms that pathogens use to hide. And for bacterial overgrowth, compounds like berberine are incredibly effective at reducing their numbers.
Okay, a really important point here. As you start this purge, your system might send out a warning signal. You might actually start to feel worse before you feel better. And the immediate thought is, oh no, this isn't working, it's a protocol failure. But is it? Let's analyze that data.
No, this is not a failure. It's what's known as a Herxheimer reaction, or a healing crisis. What's happening is that as all those pathogens die off, they release a bunch of endotoxins. That can cause some temporary fatigue, maybe some headaches. But listen, this is a crystal clear signal that the protocol is working. It means you are winning the war. All right, Section 5, System Status. The battle is won. The hostile agents are cleared. Now we transition to long-term maintenance, because the goal isn't just to recover, it's to build sustained resilience and keep the system optimized for the long haul. So here's what the recovery roadmap generally looks like. You'll probably navigate that healing crisis in the first week or so. Don't panic. Then, within about a month, your gut wall really starts to reseal and repair itself. And then, somewhere around the 3 to 4 month mark, you can expect that deep cellular repair to kick in, finally restoring your mitochondrial health and bringing your energy levels back to where they should be.
So, the big question is, how do we make this all stick? Because long-term resilience is not about being perfect. It's about integrating consistent, powerful habits into your weekly routine. It's really about building a lifestyle that actively defends your internal ecosystem day in and day out.
And these are the tactics that build what I call your biological sovereignty. Things like pulsed fasting, that 16-8 schedule, it triggers a deep clean of your damaged mitochondria. Loading up on polyphenols is huge. It feeds your gut lining protectors like Akkermansia and reboots your cellular power plants. Trying to get over 30 different plant types in a week, that builds incredible diversity. And of course, prioritizing sleep. That protects the entire gut-brain axis. Think of these as your long-term defense codes.
And there it is. The system reboot is complete. You've cleared out the threats, you've rebuilt the core architecture, and you've restored your power grid. The system is finally back online, and it's yours to command. So the only real question left is, what are you going to build with all that restored energy?